good afternoon, and welcome. Welcome indeed to another edition of the Mark Moses Show podcast. As we're always broadcasting from the Anidjar and Levine Accident Attorney Studios. Take back control of your life. Call them today here in January, even when it's cold outside. Yes, you need help. Call Anidjar and Levine Accident Attorneys today. Yes, it is a Tuesday, I believe. I'm not sure. I kind of look like a lumberjack today with the beard and the shirt. And this guy is a better professional than I am with Black Gold Banneret. And yes, broadcasting for UCF Athletics. He's my great friend, Eric Lopez. Eric, how you doing today, buddy?
Cold. It is very cold. I'm staying in. Until this cold front leaves. Like we don't live in Florida for this cold front, but I'm doing good. I'm doing good. It was good to hang out with you the other day at the UCF basketball game against number 1 Arizona, and always good to talk to you about sports.
We will get to that in a second. Let's start with last night's game, and especially you personally. I know you have ties to South Florida, right? Yeah. And you've been here in the state a long time. You grew up with Miami football. Indiana survives that game. They win the national title. What were your thoughts on that game last night, and how did Indiana get it done?
I think that's the perfect word description there. Survived, because I thought Miami controlled the game in the second half. When you really think about it, the difference in the game is the block punt. The block punt, Miami misses a field goal near the end of the first half. That's 10 points. 10 points. You know, that's what's made Indiana successful. And to Kurt Cignetti's credit, they're sound everywhere. They could beat you with their offense. They could beat you with their defense. They could win a game. Their special teams won them the national title, in my opinion, on Monday night. That was the difference of the game. I thought Miami, it was weird for me because you're right. I am from Miami. I grew up down there, but I'm not a Hurricane fan. I certainly more of a UCF guy. Actually, as a kid, I was a Florida State fan because of Bobby Bowden and Deion Sanders. But yet, Mark, it was weird because a part of me, Mark, was rooting for Miami because I grew up in the era where this state dominated college football. Before the SEC, it was the Sunshine State that dominated college football. We haven't had that for a while. It's well documented. You've covered it on your program about Florida struggles, Florida State struggles, UCF currently in a bit of a struggle. So Miami kind of raising the flag for the state. I actually caught myself rooting for them, which I never thought I would ever do. Plus, I'm not as sucked into the Indiana story as some other people are. I think the narrative of this unbelievable Cinderella story, no, it's just another Big Ten team with a big salary in their roster with a good coach. And I think that's one thing we're going to take away from this, Mark, in this era of college football. If you have the right coach with the right resources, i.e. money, you can compete. Doesn't matter about history or not. And I think that's the big takeaway from Indiana's win.
I feel like, piggybacking on what you're saying, this is the new reality. This is what it is. Your program has no excuse now. Well, why aren't you competing? Well, give us 3 or 4 years, and maybe if we get... No. You're right. Indiana got the right guy, and anyone could have hired him, by the way. Anyone could have gotten him. Anyone. They got him, and Big Ten schools have finally started to spend money, and now they're going to win. And I'm sorry, if you're the SEC, it's time to hit the panic button. I don't care that you dominate with LSU or Bama or Florida or Auburn. Doesn't matter. Big Ten, 3 in a row. 3 in a row. And they're not going anywhere. It's the Big Ten's world now. They're the dominant conference.
And the Big Ten has even the playing field as far as, because of the way the sport is right now and just college athletics in general, with the finances and NIL and everybody being so open about spending money, the SEC benefited back when here's some money under the table. Now there's money everywhere. So, Nick Saban kind of joked about it, but I think there's some truth to this. Now the Big Ten can spend all that money. They can get a kid that normally wouldn't have any interest in going to Bloomington or going to Columbus or Ann Arbor or wherever in the Midwest. Instead of staying in the South, I'll go up the Midwest for that amount of money. So there's that piece of it. There's no question. It isn't even, you have a world where Texas Tech won the Big 12. Why? They had over $20 million on their roster. Indiana spent over $60 million in their budget for football. So this is not a Cinderella story. You saw Mark Cuban just hanging around the field the whole game yesterday. He's a big part of this. He's spending a lot of money on this. So right now, if you have the money, you can compete in college, really college sports. If you don't, you're going to struggle a little bit. So that's where we're at. I don't see it changing anytime soon either. I don't think this rev share is going to change anything because people are going to find ways to circumvent it like they already are. So that you're right. I think if you're at the SEC, you got to get back to the drawing board because not only you haven't won the national title, Mark, and I'm not the biggest bowl guy, but SEC had a bad bowl season. And I know some people care about that stuff. And while I still think the SEC is the best conference in the sport, the margin has narrowed significantly. And certainly you don't have the best teams at the top like the Big Ten does.
They can't get to the title game. They can't. Who's the best? They got embarrassed in these playoff games, these bowl games. Look, this is the reality.
You're upset by this. You're upset by this.
Look, I grew up in the Midwest. The first love for me is the Big Ten. But over the last decade or so, I've been covering the SEC. And I go to those media days, and it says it just means more. Well, now it doesn't. Indiana's winning the title, and you can't get there. That's reality. Now, all right, here's the thing with Miami, and I want your thoughts. Forget my ties to Florida. I'm kind of happy for Indiana. If Miami steals that game last night, it would have been so heartbreaking for Indiana going 15-1 and then not finishing this thing. And then Miami would have ran around. They're doing this. Michael Irvin, Ed Reed's going crazy. That's our sixth, because that would have been the sixth title to break. Hey, we have the most in the state of Florida. They're talking trash. And then you know what Miami would have done? They would have came back next year and still not have won the ACC. They still would have screwed up next year. That's why they went on an Indiana Pacers magical run to the title game. That's what they did. Give them credit. They are the second best team, and they beat some great football teams to get there. But long term, I don't know. Okay, so they're going to get the Duke quarterback. You're going to lose guys on that defensive line. I don't know if they're going to get back to the title game next year. I don't know.
There's a lot there you just said there. There's a lot there. You're right. There's no guarantees they'll be back. There's no guarantees they can win an ACC. They haven't figured that out in program history, for sure. Couple things. The playoff system it showed its flaws in that I thought the system does not reward the regular season. The top 4 seeds, everybody except Indiana, lost. They're 1-7 in the 2 years. It's the most idiotic thing, Mark, that the best teams don't get rewarded with a home game. It's the teams that don't have the best regular seasons that get rewarded. So if you're a top 4 seed, your reward is you have 30, 40 days off. So you come out rusty and lose against a team that's much more not as rusty because they played an early round game. I'd rather be a play in the first round under this system than get the bye, because history shows you're going to have a bit of a layoff. Here's why I think Miami is here to stay. I'm not saying they're going to win a national title. I'm not saying they're playing for the title next year. I think Mario Cristobal, number one, what did I say? A lot of money resources down there. They're going to spend money. That's how they're getting the Duke kid. They're basically tampered and said, here, we're going to pay $9-10 million to get you out of Duke. Come down to Coral Gables. So that's number one. They have the resources. But number two, I think Nick Saban has said this on record. Mario Cristobal is the best talent evaluator when it comes to the line of scrimmage. The guy knows how to find offensive linemen. He knows how to find defensive linemen. He's proven that at Miami. We've seen that in this playoff run. And what's interesting about their philosophy is they still recruit that area in South Florida. And so they develop a lot of their line through the recruiting, but also in the portal. And that's why I think they're going to be around, because he's building it the right way in the line of scrimmage. He knows he's going to get skill position guys. That's not an issue. It's building the line of scrimmage, and we're seeing that with Miami. I think that will get better. I think eventually they will win the ACC. I don't know about the national title. It's such a crapshoot now with the playoff, and it's probably going to expand. But I think Miami's headed in the right direction. And that's why, as painful as it is today, if you're a Hurricane fan, at least for the first time in over 2 decades, you actually feel good about where your program is at. And certainly you have a clear bragging rights in the state. I would argue right now, Mark, that Miami's doing laps on the entire state.
I agree with you. I was about to ask you that question. Miami is the best team in the state of Florida. It is not close. They have the best coach. They get the best players. The other teams can't get to a bowl game, and he was just in a national title game. They have endless amounts of money. Hell, the best player in the state of Florida is that Tony kid who was a freshman. I mean, and Indiana had no idea how to cover him in that second half, right? Why didn't Carson Beck throw him the ball with the game on the line?
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing is Carson Beck kind of showed why he was flawed at Georgia. There, you saw him at Georgia. I mean, again, and I was screaming at this at the game. Is like, don't force it. And of course, he forces a deep pass for the interception to end the game on there. But that's just like, but yeah. And here's the scary thing. You mentioned it. Now Miami becomes a cool place to go again. And that's going to help recruiting. That's going to help in the transfer portal. The star receiver for Ohio State, Jeremiah Smith, was a Miami kid. They asked him during the Cotton Bowl, hey, would you have gone to Miami if they were having this success? And he's like, yeah, I probably would. That's the thing. These kids thrive off momentum and bandwagons. They love to jump on it. And now Miami's become cool again. Whereas in contrast, Mark, Florida State, Florida, and UCF currently are not cool to go. They haven't won. So to your point, those three programs now have to have success quickly to get that talent back up, because otherwise you're going to be not the place not to go. I mean, look at Florida State. They've had a terrible portal right now. I mean, we don't even know who their quarterback's going to be come next year. Florida's a different situation. They just hired Summerall. We'll see how that goes. But right now, Miami's the place to be and to go in the state of Florida. And they have a significant advantage over the other schools in the state of Florida. It's not even close.
And the ACC can be like, hey, Miami was in our conference. Maybe we're not such a trash conference that everyone else outside thinks it is. Now, I get it. Virginia should have beaten Duke. Virginia should have been in the playoff. Maybe Miami doesn't make it. But, hey, I'm telling you, this goes back to my main point. The SEC is just the best thing ever. Okay, well, they play football all around the country, and they can win as well. So we'll find out. But, hey, give credit to the Hurricanes.
Well, the ACC Valley's got to get it out of its own way. Their tiebreaker system nearly screwed themselves completely. Yeah. It was ridiculous. Miami, and I would expect every conference from here on out just say, look, whoever the two highest ranked teams are, if we're tied, if a bunch of teams tied, just send them, because the ACC nearly got left out. And I do agree with you. I buy your. I think I could hear it in your voice, Mark. A little conspiracy, Mark Moses coming out there, which is had Virginia beaten Duke and gotten that. I wonder if Miami would have still gotten in, because I'm not sure they would have.
No, I don't. And that's what's so funny with Miami fans. Dude, from November 1st to when they decided who was going to be in the playoff, they were nonstop complaining. Yes. We should be in the playoff over Notre Dame. And then they were fearing for their lives. Oh, no, we're not going to make the playoff. Some Miami fans were surprised they made the playoff, but then they ran with it.
Well, and the people that were complaining, my thing that bothered me about that's like, dude, why did you lose don't lose to Louisville at home. Don't lose to, like, especially now after this playoff. I would be even more angry that you lost to Louisville. Now, a lot of that was Carson Beck turning the ball over and everything. And maybe you could argue that Alabama should have been the team that should have been left out, and Notre Dame and Miami both should have been in. But at the bottom line is, you're right. Miami now, be consistent. And so you don't put yourself in that position again where you're like on the bubble going on selection Sunday. I think that's, to me, with Miami now, prove that you have learned from this, and they should. They have the roster. They have the talent. You know, I think Mario's still a little questionable game management-wise as an X's and O's guy, but guy knows how to build the roster.
All right. I want some coaching thoughts from you because, okay, you love the Dolphins. We're here with Eric Lopez. For good or bad, that's his team. And I respect you've never jumped ship either, because I know other people, I'll root for the Bills now. No. No, it's Dolphins for life, right? For life. So they hired a coach. I don't even know what to say. What the defensive coordinator of the Packers?
Former BC head coach, yeah.
What are your thoughts?
Here's what I'm going to say. I've been consistent about this since, I don't know, we were like 0-4 or whatever, and I knew the season was over. What I wanted is the GM and the head coach to be on the same page. Part of the problem the Dolphins have had for the last quarter century is they would always have either the GM who inherits a coach or a coach that inherits a GM. Never the other. Now you have the synergy. You hire a GM from the Packers who work, good franchise. I know you hate them, but they've had success. You would agree. Good organization there. So you hire him. So at that point, I knew, okay, you're probably going to hire somebody with Packer ties. It wasn't going to be LaFleur once he got the extension with Green Bay. So it came down to me, are you going to go after Mike McCarthy, who's kind of old, or do you go for the young guy, Hafley, who's kind of been a hot name in the industry? They go with Hafley. It makes sense. Organizations do this. You just had an offensive guy. Now you go with the defense. They need a lot of work on the defense. So here's my pitch. I'm not saying it's going to work, because why would it work? It's the Dolphins. It never works. But you have a GM and the head coach on the same timeline, on the same page. That's, to me, the key to being successful in the NFL. Look at the 49ers. I know the 49ers got just destroyed, but they're on the same page. Seattle's, you got to be on the same page from an organization standpoint. They got to rebuild this up. It's going to take a year or two, but hopefully they could do that and build it correctly. I don't know if you're going to be able to find a quarterback. I know you asked me this at the UCF game. I don't think Tua is the answer long term. I think Tua, and here's what happened with Tua. I think eventually the mental side just took its toll, as far as all the, hey, don't take a hit. You can't take a hit. Don't take this hit. And I think eventually now he's lost it confidence-wise. He's a shell of what he was. Maybe a new scenery will do him better. But at the end of the day, I think that's done. So now if you're the Dolphins, you've got to build this roster up in 26. And then I would personally go for a quarterback in the 27 draft. This is not a good draft for the quarterbacks. No, I don't think Fernando Mendoza is the long-term answer in the NFL. I think he's going to be a bust. 27 has a deeper NFL quarterback prospects, but you got to build this up. You can't quick fix this if you're Miami. And I think that's been sometimes their problems. They try to take shortcuts and then they get stuck. So it's unfortunate, but that's your hope. If you're a Dolphin fan, you're hoping that you have the GM now and the head coach in the same page, and hopefully Hafley can build up that defense strong enough, and then you have A-Chain and you got some pieces there. But that's going to take a couple of years here, Mark.
All right, so here's the question. Who's calling the plays and who's the starting quarterback next year? That's the number one thing in the NFL. Who is calling plays on offense? Who is your starting quarterback? I don't care. What is the answer to those questions?
There's some speculation that the Packers offensive coordinator, who doesn't call plays because LaFleur calls the plays, that he might come with him to Miami. So that's a start. So I think this is going to be Green Bay South in a lot of ways. Now, who's the quarterback? Remember, the Packers took Jordan Love late in the first round and developed him. Will they do that this year? Do they wait a year? Do they give Quinn Ewers the keys for next year to give him a tryout? He started late in the season after Tua got benched. I think those are questions they have to evaluate, but I think that's really what's ahead of them. The good news for them is this. The Jets are still a disaster, and they always will be a disaster. That's not going to change. And when it comes to January, Mark, the Buffalo Bills once again showed they are an accident waiting to happen. They will always choke. And all the Bills people that are listening to this are going to get all mad about it, but deep down they know that, because, boy, that Saturday night game against Denver was such a perfect Buffalo choke job. And then they fire their coach. They fire their coach because their quarterback meltdown on Saturday night. It's hilarious to me of the Bills. So my point is, the AFC East, if you can turn it around, and the blueprint is in Foxborough for what they've done there with Mike Vrabel, hiring him. They took Drake May, and now they're off and running and could be on their way to the Super Bowl.
See, this is the problem. New England was good for 20 years. Then they're bad for a couple years. Now they might have started a new dynasty. This is the problem. This is the worst case scenario if you're the other three teams in the AFC East.
Not ideal. No, you're right about it, especially if you're Buffalo, which, this window might be closing, to your point. So I do agree with that. I want to hold off on the New England thing. Remember, they play one of the worst, easiest schedules in the NFL. You know this. The league has a way of humbling you. And I wonder next year with a tougher schedule, how things go with New England. But it's the league, you could flip on it there. But you're not wrong. It's annoying if you're in the AFCs that New England's already figured this out quickly. But that credit to them. They got Mike Vrabel when nobody else did. Mike Vrabel was available for a lot of teams over the last year, and nobody took him except him. And he's a good coach.
What does not get talked about enough, they brought back Josh McDaniels as the offensive coordinator.
Yes.
Who is a great offensive coordinator.
Right. He's a terrible head coach, but he's meant to be an offensive coordinator. Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying with the Dolphins. Okay, you got your coach. Who's the OC? This is look, dude, for the first time in my life, I feel like my team, who, yes, lost over the weekend, I have a head coach that calls the plays. He could be another Sean McVay, and I have a quarterback. I can't believe I'm saying that. My window is open. That's why when I look at Baltimore and I look at the Bills you just talked about, you have a superstar quarterback now. I don't care who's on defense. You've got to make sure you put him in the best possible situation to win now. That's what it's about.
Agreed. By the way, can I tell you something about your Bears? Can you tell your head coach, Ben Johnson, settle down on the fourth down? So, sometimes it's okay to take the point sometimes. Like, that guy, man, I just go easy. Like, I feel like sometimes he leaves points on the bench. Listen, he did a great job. I think he's exciting. I think he's fun. I enjoy his locker room, which is clearly must-see now. I have no problems with him trashing the Packers and disrespecting the Packers. He should. He's a Bears guy. My only thing, and it's not just him. There's some of these young guys, man. They just read the script. Oh, let's go for it. Fourth down. Just feel the game. Feel the game. Sometimes it's good to go for it on fourth down. Sometimes it's not. I felt like sometimes he goes for it too much. Maybe it cost you early in that Rams game. Just me.
I feel like they played with magic the whole year.
No doubt.
They just ran out in overtime. There's miscommunication on the interception, and it just was an overthrow, and Moore did not run it. I mean, dude, when I saw Seattle play Saturday night, just like you, that is a complete football team.
I think you would have lost to Seattle. Yeah, I think you lost to Seattle.
I believe so too. But I think we're close. This reminds me of 2005, where we lose in the second round to Carolina. I was at that game when Steve Smith killed the Bears. I remember this. And they went into that offseason. They had a great draft. They drafted Devin Hester. They made upgrades on defense. And then they went out and became the 1 seed.
What do they need to address this offseason? What do they need?
First off, pass rush. Yeah. Montez Sweat is completely washed up. I'm sorry. They need to go into this draft. They need to make upgrades they need to get outside linebacker, pass rush. The secondary, there a bunch of guys like Kevin Byard, and you could look at Shawnee as well, Nashawn Wright, where free agent. You have got to get that defense, especially push with the front seven. They've got to be better to take the load off the offense. I think they're close. They're right there. Like you just talked about windows. The window is open right now. And the thing I take out of it, this reminds me, and you could disagree with me, when Chiefs had Mahomes for that first year, they made it to the AFC Championship game and lost to Brady and the Patriots, and they had their heart broken. They were right there. That's what I could be wrong. They're right there. They're
the exciting thing, I think, if you're a Bears fan, from your I know you are, is I think you feel good about Caleb Williams now, right? Like, he's not perfect. He's still got some work to do in his game, right? But boy, he seems to come up clutch every time, doesn't he? Like that fourth down play. If you guys win that game, where does that rank all time in Bears play? That's like one of the most iconic plays in the history of the Bears, isn't it?
It would have been like how when we were kids, they always talk about Joe Montana, Dwight Clark, the catch. That's what it's
a good one.
Dude, I tell you, they get to overtime. They stop. Stafford did not play well in this game. They stop him. They get the ball back. They're going down the field. Just go vanilla. Just set up for the field goal.
And that's my point. That's what I'm telling you. Just manage the game a little bit. And look, Ben Johnson's a rookie head coach, so I just hope he manages, because my concern, here's my concern. Mike McDaniel is the same way year one in Miami. He never figured it out. He kept doing it the same way he did in year one. And the thing is, the league will catch up with you if you don't adapt and you don't learn those lessons. So hopefully, for your sake, Ben Johnson learns that. I think he will. I think he's bright. And clearly, look at how the Lions dropped off without him, to the point where
Bingo.
Dan Campbell takes over the offensive coordinating, whatever, and they're hiring a second OC. Ben Johnson was a huge part of that Detroit success. And I think people are now learning that Dan Campbell wasn't the sauce that made Detroit. It was just as much Ben Johnson.
I'll just tell you this. This is where you're really going to roll your eyes. I'm not trading him for anyone. No other quarterback.
Caleb?
No,
Yeah,
I'm not trading, because you can be like, oh, well, what if Lamar Jackson? Nope. Josh Allen? Nope. I'm not kidding around. Dak Prescott? Nope. I am not kidding.
You're hooked. You're hooked.
I am hooked. This is the guy. Look, Drake May has the potential to be a great NFL quarterback, win multiple Super Bowls now. No, if he got drafted by Chicago, it would not have worked. He would not. He's in the perfect situation.
I'm not going to lie. When he made that play on fourth down, there was a part of me thinking, are we going to get the Bears and the Patriots 40 years later after they played in the Super Bowl shuffle year when the guys crushed them in New Orleans in 80? Remember, think about it. I think the 40-year anniversary is coming up.
Dude, there's no juice now. I'm sorry. I know, look, I have bias in this situation. The Final Four we have, like, does anyone, if you're not in West Coast time right now, does anyone care about Seahawks Rams for the end? I'm sorry to say that. Maybe
I do. I think those are the two best teams left with the Bo Nix injury. Look, it's still going to do a big number. If you look at the Rams in Seattle in the regular season, I watched both games this year. They were great games. Like the Thursday, they played a Thursday night game. It might have been the best Thursday night NFL game I've ever seen. And I like the Rams pass rush there with Verse and Fisk, former Seminole guys, and their offense. I think that's going to be a great game. I think Seattle's going to be a great atmosphere. The Denver thing, the Bo Nix injury takes some of the steam off that game. That's a little bummer. It's like, God, is New England really going to catch breaks again? It feels I'm going to be curious what Sean Payton comes up with Stidham. They did pay Stidham a lot of money. It's ironic that Denver's season comes down to the all Gus Malzahn backfield of former Auburn quarterback Jason Stidham and former UCF running back R.J. Harvey, but that's where they're at. They're going to have to play a stellar game defensively to win that game.
I would not be shocked if the Broncos win. I would
neither
not.
would I.
Neither would I. And I like Nick Foles came out. He did the message. Hey, well, I did it. All right. I just want to say this before I let you go. You do a great job. Black and Gold Banneret. Also, I know UCF softball, you're going to be on the call for how many years now? 20?
This will be my 20th season. It starts February 5th. UCF will be at home. Check out UCFKnights.com for all the details. I host a softball podcast in the Circle SB, as well as D1softball.com. Softball season starts in 3 weeks. UCF's got a lot of talented players back. So it should be a fun year for Coach Cindy Ball Malone and the Knights here in 2026. I'm looking forward to my 20th season, 25th season for the program. So, yeah, it'll be exciting times and for them.
And I just want to say to you, I enjoyed going to the basketball game. I never seen a number one team play before. I know they've beaten Kansas multiple times, which is awesome to say out loud. I think tonight they play at Iowa State, who's ranked, I don't know,
top 10. Top 10. They're in the top 10. That's all you got to say. Top 10. And they're coming off a loss to Cincinnati. They're on a 2-game losing streak. So not ideal timing for UCF to play them in Ames, Iowa. They call it Hilton Magic. Very difficult place to play. So to me, from a UCF standpoint, I thought they played a good game against Arizona. Give Arizona credit. They're the number one team in the country for a reason. Their size, Mark, you saw it up close, is legit. They look like an NBA front court, Arizona. They might be taller than the Magic. So I think that's part of it. This is going to be a tough one, a big ask tonight. If you look at UCF's schedule, they got to go tonight, Iowa State. They go to Colorado this weekend. Can you get a split on the road and keep the momentum going? Right now, they have the resume to make the NCAA tournament, but what you have to avoid is a 5-6 game losing streak, which can happen very easily in the number one conference in college basketball, which is the Big 12. That's what UCF has to avoid. It cost them last year. This is the stretch. If they could survive this stretch, they got Colorado on the road. They got Arizona State at home. They got to go to Houston. After that, that schedule by Big 12 standards gets a little more manageable. If they could do that, they got a shot to make the NCAA tournament. But can they find ways to split games and avoid long losing streaks? Can they get some better rim protection consistency defensively? Who knows? I think this offense is legit, but they're a significant underdog here at Iowa State.
Yeah, Arizona wore them down after a while. They were exhausted. Look. People were debating this on press row, but I'm sticking to my guns. They ran out of gas in the second half. I'll just say that. And what's funny is Arizona does not shoot the three.
They're old school. They're an old school team. Yeah.
What year was I watching when you're watching them play? That's why when I think they get to the tournament, Arizona, a 3-point shooting team's going to beat them.
In theory, right? Like a team that gets hot, like an Alabama, could be a bad matchup although they beat Alabama here in the regular season. But to your point, tournament games go a little shorter. Team gets hot, hits 13. That's the way to beat them because you're not going to beat them up front. You're not going to be able to score in the paint against Arizona. So the way to beat them is from the perimeter. UCF just didn't hit threes in that game. Otherwise, they may have a shot. So I don't disagree with you. I don't think Arizona I would pick to win the national title today. But I think they're certainly a contender, though, and I cannot wait in a few weeks. They play Houston and Houston. Those are the two best teams in the Big 12. Houston, quietly, still really good.
Eric Lopez, thanks for your help, buddy, and have a great week. All right.
Anytime, Mark.